Okay, so welcome, Monique. Thank you so much for being open and willing to chat to me and to whoever watches this about the path of the priestess. So everybody, I'd like to introduce you to Monique Van Oosterhout. Monique is a priestess of the New Earth, and she works with mature women who've had to reinvent their lives due to major challenge. So thank you for joining me, Monique. And
It's
look
a
at the
great
beautiful
pleasure.
nature you have. So Monique is in South Africa, and just look at all that amazing, all the trees. I love it.
Show you the mountains and the dam.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yes,
So thank you for being there and bringing all this beautiful
it's a
nature with you.
pleasure.
So what called you towards the Priestess Path?
Sarah, what called me is when we did the masterclass with you last year on self-love. And it really spoke to me because I really got through how you presented the masterclass, that when we know ourselves and have a good relationship with ourselves and our hearts are open, how easy it is to work with others and be there for them in an appropriate, empathetic, mindful, heartful, soulful way. And, you know, it was just the very obvious thing to do. So thank you for those master classes. And it was like a door opened
Well,
to just what I need.
I guess that's what happens, isn't it? When we go into the heart, the doors do open, and we all know it's easy to say, it's kind of what I think we're going to be talking about, but the mind knows, but when the body follows, it's different. And I know that you've studied lots of things, and you know, you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom, but often we find with the priestess work that it kind of provides a kind of missing piece because it embodies it.
You know, I'd almost say it's not missing, it's there, but through the priestess process, the confidence is reawakened in it.
There we go. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
Yes.
my experience.
It's not that anything is ever missing. It's just that we've forgotten or.
Yes, you know, a particular neck of the woods that we may be in our life process sort of disconnects us at times or dampens the access.
Yes.
But the priestess process journey has really been a very gentle, I almost feel like a river that's flowing more and more strongly, but within good banks, river banks, you know, so it actually allows for the increased flow and movement to be a happy one.
And that's part of embodiment as well, isn't it? Having those strong boundaries, and which is so much more than the modern day version of the boundary.
Yes, it's more like containment.
Yeah.
For exuberance and for joy and for wealth to come in, because one of the three aspects of my intention that I said when we started the priestess journey is to be here to grow my own wealth and to help other women to grow their wealth. You know, so what is wealth? It's both an emotional thing in the sense of being happy and being well physically, but it's also having the choices through adequate and more than adequate access to finances, to have the choice to say, for example, do the priestess process with you, you know, to be able to pay for it, etc. So I know that you too are very adamant that a priestess knows how to stand on her own 2 feet, you know, so it's in many different ways, but financial is one of them. Community of women is a very powerful one. I know that the sacred process can also be for a priest. You know, I'm thinking of the Mankind Project, where men are in a sensitive yin way being retaught how to be authoritative, etc. But within the priestess process, it's very much about women supporting each other in their knowledge of what it, you and I are mature women. It's a very particular experience, which is different to the general man's experience, or there are other people as well who have gender fluidity. So it's for everyone. Actually, it's the sacred way.
Absolutely.
We're calling it the priestess process, but it's actually the sacred way.
Yeah, it's a pathway to the divine feminine, and in fact, the priestess process is occasionally taken by men. Recommitment to their divine feminine, which, as we're going to talk a little bit about, I think, is that we all have those elements inside of us, all of us.
Exactly.
It's not about what kind of body we live in or we've chosen to live in.
Yeah, so however we frame our gender and sexuality.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more the frequency of energy that we choose to live with.
Yes, it's the love energy, the sacred love energy.
Lovely. Yeah. So you're about, well, at the time of recording this, which is January 2023, you're kind of just a few weeks away from emerging as a priestess of the new earth. So you've done a lot of the sort of foundational work. So I know sometimes it's difficult to talk about these things in kind of practical ways, but what do you see the difference in you but now and let's say a year ago? How has it helped you move forwards with your...
Yes. Okay. A before and after, even though we can both agree that it's something that carries on growing in a sense, is the way I'd put it to you today is I feel a quiet confidence. It's almost like my bandwidth has grown. It's like having good bandwidth. You can really both receive and announce or, convey to the world the path of love, if I can put it that way, because it's a sacredness. There is ritual in it. There's a particular way of doing it. It's almost like following a recipe, but making it your own, So I think about a year ago, I still felt a lot of stress and didn't quite have that quiet confidence, even though I knew that somehow I was able to. It's almost like the riverbanks have risen so the river can flow higher. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's an internal energy shift, isn't it? Which,
I'd say so.
Yeah, which kind of happens on its own. It's not difficult to talk about things, but unless you've experienced them, because again, at the time of recording, I've already run 5 priestess processes.
Wow.
6th one is about to start. And so the reason I say that is because the more that I see it and witness it within myself and outside of myself, I see how powerful running the priestess energy can be. Especially not for all people, but a lot of the women that come through this process, and you are no exception to this, Monique, are women who've done lots of work on themselves. They're not beginners at all. And because all that work's already been done, if you like, it's just like the priestess energy that just comes through and kind of like weaves it all together and makes it solid. Does that feel about right to you?
I almost want to say it's like putting yeast in dough. Initially it feels like a brick when you put the flour and the water together, but then the process expands and it kind of does its thing. And yes, you just do have to come back and knead the dough in order to have this beautiful thing called bread that you can share with others and enjoy yourself. It's like that.
Wow, what a beautiful way of saying it. Yeah, very beautiful.
So So it's an expansive, and it's actually quite a soft but definite process.
Mm. And I know you've experienced as well a lot of shifts within your own inner feminine and inner masculine. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. When we started, and we started with the intention, one of the intentions that I have is to stand on my own 2 feet, to be wealthy, to be healthy, to be a shining light for myself and for others, and to live in community of spirit, the spirits of the priestess energies. So, for example, talking about wealth, it is financial wealth. And what is financial wealth? It is about having enough and more than enough for one's basic needs, but also to have choice. And when I say choice, it's an ethical choice. So, for example, to be able to pay you for the priestess process, I see this as a fabulous investment, because it is like that yeast. It has many returns, and in a very practical way. And okay, I've got a Dutch background, so we're very practical with money. I've always tracked my money. I've always put money away, etc. And I have just come out of a very difficult 7-year divorce process due to domestic violence. So, there have been times, I'm going to be absolutely straight with you, where I thought, oh my God, am I ever going to be able to re-emerge and grow, etc.? And yes, I know I can. And yes, I know I will. So I am very practical, but there is, through the Priestess Process journey with you, I've learned so much about, for example, my inner divine feminine and my inner divine masculine. So I can be gentle and supportive, but I can also be very firm and have good boundaries. And I can help people, and I can hold them accountable, including myself, just as an example. And people need that, because when they experience it, when I say people, I'm talking about myself and whoever would like me to support them, because it's through cheering someone on, just like you do with us, that eventually we get to the finishing line, and not only to the finishing line, but eating the bread, so to say, that feeds our bodies and makes us feel well. And, obviously we don't only eat bread, but to have the choice. So for me, choice is extremely important. I'd love to visit you one day in Bordeaux after this COVID period, etc. But to have that choice to pay for an air ticket and to, go to what is it, Quatre Puy, to stay at that gorgeous place, and it's a dream I have, and I know it will come to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would be amazing. We have actually been starting to talk, not this year, but maybe in a year or so, about a priestess gathering here in France, which would be amazing. Lovely to have people from all different countries. Yes. You have such a beautiful way of sharing the priestess journey, Monique, the ways that I haven't heard before, and I love them. So it's kind of like the same frequencies that I've experienced and I've heard others talk about, but you have such a beautiful way with words. So I just like to
thank you.
Share that with you, because I think lots of people really understand this. So is there anything else that you feel you would like to share before we say goodbye?
Oh, yes. I just, I know that what you have to offer in the priestess journey can work for many different people in different ways. But just to give people who are considering this, as, is this right for me or isn't it? I think what has been very transformative for me is knowing that I have the knowledge, and your questions, and allowing us to write about it real time as we do the course. And also, I must say, the introduction with the dancing of sacred space, opening the sacred space, and then, embodying what has come through at the end of the session, it's just been absolutely wonderful, because it allows me, and I'm sure everyone else, to just experience the joy of the process. It's a very easy to follow, because it's so joyful. You know, it's so happy to dance this truth, and one doesn't have to think about it. It just comes from the heart. It comes from the body's knowing of how to incorporate the space. You know, it just really puts it together for me. So that's been wonderful. And the tasters are, you'll meet your flower deva, you'll meet your totem animal, you'll meet your ancestral line, your cultural ancestral line, your spiritual ancestral line, and your actual line, genetic line. And you've got the information there, and just the way Sarah puts it together and asks the questions and holds the space for the answers to come through is sheer magic, because the information is there already. And, you know, then as it flows onto paper and you write, and you can always come back to the more of a conversation with it. But then the encapsulation is really a fantastic process. And I think that's really what increases that bandwidth, Sarah. You know, as we go along, it's like the bandwidth, it's a funny thing, you know, it's like when we did that initial working with the elements, and I picked a card there, and the card that came up, I picked it from the Divine Feminine pack, card pack with, what's her name? Watterson? Do you know that one? Anyway, Dakini came up. She's a Tibetan goddess. She's enlightened, so she's very playful, etc. But what I got there is, I'm a radio station, so I receive and I emit. And I thought, wow, you know, when you tuned into the right frequency, every one of us is just like this, you know, it's like that little crystalline receiver in a radio. It receives it and it emits it like instantaneously. And I feel that the Priestess process has actually been like that for me. And I just really want to thank you from my heart for the confidence it's given me, and also the astrological understanding. I never understood astrology, I'll be honest with you, but this time I'm getting it, and I'm able to utilize it in a way I've never utilized or understood it before. It was like a secret language that I didn't get, but now it's part of that mix. And I can actually, you know, it's almost like putting the cart behind the horse, not in front of the horse. Like previously I heard about rising sun and what have you, but now they're aligned and now I can utilize it. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And again, you've just explained that beautifully. And yeah, it's a real journey of embodiment. And because we do it every week, again and again and again, we cannot help. As long as we turn up, we cannot help but bring the energy through. Thank you so much, Monique. It's been so lovely to speak to you.
It's a real pleasure.
I'll just talk on behalf of everybody else, seeing the beautiful nature behind you. And thank you so much for your sharing. Yeah, wishing you
Much love.
Much, magical advancement in all your dreams now that you have this.
Thank you, thank you. So may it be so. So it is.
Thank you.